My wife texted, "I told your boss about your mental health issues today. You're welcome. Now you will get accommodations." I never had mental health issues. When HR called me in for a meeting, I had recorded evidence of her making it all up. Original post. I, 34 male, work in project management for a mid-sized tech company. Been there 7 years, promoted twice, consistently excellent reviews. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but professionally, I'm solid. Never had a complaint, never had a disciplinary issue, never even had an awkward conversation with HR. Until last Thursday. My wife and I have been married for 4 years. The last year has been rough. She lost her job about 10 months ago and hasn't found a new one. Not for lack of trying at first, but lately she's stopped looking and started resenting. Resenting that I work long hours. Resenting that I'm stressed. Resenting that I don't take more time off to be with her. We've argued about it. She's been pushing me to take FMLA leave, use my PTO more aggressively, work from home permanently. Anything to be around more. I've explained that's not how my job works. I'm a lead on 3 major projects. I can't just disappear. 2 weeks ago, she started saying things like, if you had a medical reason, they'd have to accommodate you. I thought she was just venting, wishful thinking. I didn't realize she was planning something. Last Thursday morning, I was in a meeting when my phone buzzed. Text from her. "I told your boss about your mental health issues today. You're welcome. Now you'll get accommodations. Call the HR number on your company website." They were very understanding. They said they'd reach out to discuss what you need. Finally, someone's looking out for you since you won't do it yourself, red heart. I stared at my phone for a solid minute. My mental health issues. I don't have mental health issues. I've never been diagnosed with anything. Never seen a therapist. Never taken medication. Never even told her I had mental health issues because I don't. I excused myself from the meeting and called her immediately. "Hey, did you get my text? You're welcome, by the way. What did you tell them?" "Just that you've been struggling with anxiety and depression. That you've been having panic attacks at home. That you're on medication, but it's not working well. I said you were too proud to ask for help yourself." My blood went cold. None of that is true. I know, silly, but they don't know that. Now, they'll have to give you accommodations. You can work from home, take mental health days, maybe even reduce your hours. It's perfect. You lied to my employer about my mental health, using my name. Pause. I was helping you. How is fabricating a medical condition to my employer helping me? Because you won't help yourself. You work too much. You're never home. I'm trying to fix things for us. I hung up. My hands were shaking, not from anxiety or depression, but from pure, undiluted rage. An hour later, I got the email I'd been dreading. Meeting request. HR discussion. Confidential. Scheduled for the next morning. I spent that evening doing something I never thought I'd have to do. Building a case against my own wife. Here's something important to understand. About 3 months ago, my wife and I started having the same arguments on repeat. The "you work too much" argument. The "take FMLA" argument. The "they'd have to accommodate a medical issue" argument. It was cyclical, exhausting, and going nowhere. After the 5th or 6th version of this fight, I started recording our conversations. Not because I thought she'd do something like this, but because I was genuinely starting to wonder if I was the crazy one. Was I really working too much? Was I really being unreasonable? I wanted to listen back and get some perspective. What I got instead was documentation. I had recordings of her explicitly saying, "You don't have any mental health issues. You're just stubborn. If you won't claim you have a problem, maybe I should call and tell them myself." It's not really lying if it gets you what you need. Nobody can prove you don't have anxiety. I had 3 months of recordings proving she knew I didn't have mental health issues and was planning to fabricate them anyway. The night before my HR meeting, I organized everything. Timestamps, transcripts, audio files. I also drafted a timeline of our conversations leading up to her call. My wife, meanwhile, seemed completely unbothered. She made dinner like nothing had happened. Asked me how my day was. When I mentioned the HR meeting, she smiled. "See? It's already working. They're going to help you. They think I have a mental illness I don't have. How is that helping? Just go with it. What's the worst that could happen?" I didn't answer. I was too busy preparing for exactly that question. Update 1. The HR meeting. Friday morning, 9 a.m. Conference room with HR. Sitting across from me was our HR director and another HR representative. They both looked concerned, sympathetic, which somehow made it worse. Thank you for meeting with us. We received a call yesterday from someone identifying themselves as your spouse, expressing concern about your mental health and asking about accommodation options. I'm aware. She told me she called. We want you to know this is a safe space. Whatever you're going through, we can work together to find solutions. Flexible scheduling, remote work options, reduced workload. I'm going to stop you there. I pulled out my folder. I don't have any mental health issues. I've never been diagnosed with anxiety or depression. I've never had a panic attack. I'm not on any medication. My wife fabricated all of this. Silence. They looked at each other. I understand this might be difficult to discuss. No, we don't understand. She made it up. Completely. And I have proof. I slid the folder across the table. Inside, transcripts of our recorded conversations. A written timeline. A USB drive with the audio files. These are recordings of conversations between my wife and me over the past 3 months. In them, she explicitly acknowledges that I don't have mental health issues and discusses her plan to contact my employer and claim I do. The HR director put on reading glasses, started going through the transcripts. Her expression shifted from sympathetic to confused to concerned to something I couldn't quite read. She says here, "You don't have any mental health issues. You're just stubborn." Correct. And here, "If you won't claim you have a problem, maybe I should call and tell them myself." Also correct. And you recorded these conversations? I live in a one-party consent state. I verified before I started. More silence. The other HR rep was taking notes furiously. Why did you start recording your conversations? Because we were having the same argument repeatedly, and I was starting to doubt my own perception. I wanted to review them objectively. I had no idea she'd actually go through with calling you. The HR director set down the transcripts. This is not what we expected. I imagine not. We're going to need to review this material and consult with legal. In the meantime, I want to assure you that your employment status is not affected. You're not in trouble. I appreciate that. But I want to be clear about something. My wife contacted my employer using my name and made false claims about my medical history. That's not a miscommunication. That's fraud. We understand the severity. Do you? Because she thought this was a favor. She thought she was helping me. She has no idea what she's done. The meeting ended with them promising to follow up. I walked back to my desk, folder in hand, and try to focus on work. Spoiler, I cannot focus on work. That evening, I told my wife about the meeting. Not everything. Just that HR was looking into the situation and there might be follow-up questions. She beamed. See? They're taking it seriously. I told you this would work. They're not accommodating me. They're investigating you. Her smile faltered. What? You called my employer and made false statements about my medical history. That's a problem. It's not false, it's just preemptive. You can have these issues. You're stressed. You work too much. Stress and working too much are not anxiety disorders or clinical depression. You told them I have panic attacks and take medication. None of that is true. So, they can't prove it's not true. Actually, they can, because I have recordings of you admitting you made it up. The color drained from her face. You what? I've been recording our conversations for months. I have you on tape saying I don't have mental health issues and planning to call my employer anyway. You recorded me? Without telling me. One-party consent state. Perfectly legal. That's a violation of trust. And lying to my employer about my mental health isn't. She stood up, knocking her chair back. I was trying to help you. I was trying to make our life better. You're so obsessed with work that you can't see I was doing this for US. You fabricated a medical condition and reported it to my employer. You could have damaged my career. You could have got me fired. In what universe is that helping? You're being dramatic. HR is consulting with their legal team. I don't think I'm the dramatic one here. She stormed off to the bedroom, slammed the door. I slept on the couch. The next morning, she tried a different approach. Tears. I'm so sorry. I didn't think it through. I just wanted you home more. I miss you. I've been so lonely since I lost my job. Please don't be mad. I'm not mad. I'm protecting myself. From me? I'm your wife. You made false statements about my mental health to my employer. That's not being a wife. That's being a liability. She stopped crying. Her expression hardened. Fine, if that's how you want to play this. She grabbed her phone and locked herself in the bedroom. I heard her talking to someone, probably her mother or her sister, probably spinning the narrative to make me the villain. I didn't care. I had bigger problems to deal with. Update 2, 1 week later. The week after the HR meeting was tense. My wife oscillated between tearful apologies and cold fury. She tried to cuddle up to me, then call me a paranoid control freak when I didn't respond warmly. Meanwhile, at work, things were moving. HR called me in again on Tuesday. This time, their legal counsel was present. We've reviewed the materials you provided, the HR director said. The recordings are concerning. I imagine so. We need to address a few things. First, to be clear, there will be no negative impact on your employment. You haven't done anything wrong. Thank you. Second, we're obligated to document this incident. Your wife contacted our company, identified herself as your spouse, and made specific claims about your medical status. Those claims appear to be fabricated. That's potentially actionable. Actionable how? The legal counsel spoke up. Depending on how we proceed, this could be considered fraud, defamation, or interference with your employment. It could also have implications under harassment statutes, depending on interpretation. I'm not looking to sue my own wife. That's your prerogative. But we may need to send a formal cease and desist to ensure she doesn't contact us again. We're also updating our verification protocols for third-party medical claims. Your situation exposed a gap. Great. I was now a case study. Is there anything else you need from me? Just your cooperation if we need additional documentation. And off the record, I'm sorry you're dealing with this. Yeah, me too. I went home that night to an empty apartment. My wife had apparently gone to stay with her mother. She left a note. You've chosen your job over your marriage. I hope it was worth it. We'll talk when you're ready to apologize. I read it 3 times. Apologize. She wanted me to apologize for protecting myself against her fabricated claims about MY mental health at MY job. The entitlement was genuinely breathtaking. I texted her, I have nothing to apologize for. You lied to my employer. That's on you. Her response, you recorded me without permission. That's illegal. Me, one-party consent state. Already verified. Try again. Her, this is why I can't talk to you. You're always so logical. Sometimes people need emotion. Me, sometimes people need to not commit fraud. She didn't respond after that. 3 days later, her mother called. I let it go to voicemail. The message was predictable. I don't know what's going on between you two, but my daughter is devastated. She was only trying to help you. You work too much and you're never there for her. Maybe instead of recording conversations like some kind of spy, you should try actually listening to your wife. She needs you, and you're pushing her away. I saved the voicemail. More documentation. Then her sister called. Same thing, different voice. She's been crying for days. You're being cruel. All she wanted was for you to be home more. She fabricated a mental health condition and reported it to my employer. That's not wanting me home more. That's sabotage. You're exaggerating. I have recordings. Click. She hung up. The family narrative was clear. I was the bad guy. My wife was the victim. Never mind that she'd lied about my mental health to my employer, potentially damaging my career. Never mind that she'd done it without my knowledge or consent. Never mind that she thought it was a favor. In their version of events, I was a workaholic who neglected his wife, and she was a loving spouse who just wanted more time with her husband. It was a nice story. Too bad it wasn't true. Final update, 2 weeks later. The legal situation resolved faster than I expected. My company sent a formal letter to my wife and my home address, since we were still technically living together, just not speaking. The letter was brief and devastating. It documented her call to HR and the specific false claims she made. It stated that these claims had been investigated and determined to be fabricated. It demanded she cease all contact with the company. It noted that the company reserved the right to pursue legal action if warranted. My wife received the letter when she came by to pick up some clothes. She read it standing in the living room while I watched from the kitchen. They're threatening me? They're protecting themselves. And me, I could get in legal trouble. You made false statements about an employee's medical status. Yes, that has consequences. I was trying to help. You keep saying that. It doesn't make it true. She threw the letter on the ground. This is your fault. You could have just gone along with it. You could have just accepted the accommodations, and none of this would have happened. You wanted me to accept accommodations for a mental illness I don't have, to lie, to commit fraud, and you're angry that I didn't? I'm angry that you chose your precious career over your marriage. You chose this, not me. You called my employer. You lied about my mental health. You did this. All of it. She grabbed her bag of clothes and headed for the door, then stopped. I want a divorce. I didn't react. I've been expecting this for a week. Fine. Fine. That's all you have to say. What do you want me to say? You sabotaged my job, got caught, blamed me for it, and now you want a divorce. What response were you hoping for? I don't know. Something. Emotion. Anything. I'm fresh out. You can have your lawyer contact mine. She left, slammed the door so hard the pictures on the wall rattled. The divorce itself was relatively quick, as these things go. No kids. No complicated assets. She got a portion of what we'd accumulated during the marriage, about $40,000, plus she kept her car and personal belongings. The thing that made it quick was the recordings. See, during our divorce proceedings, my wife tried to claim I had been emotionally abusive and controlling. She painted a picture of a cold, distant husband who recorded conversations to intimidate her. My attorney presented the actual recordings. In context, with transcripts, they showed a woman who explicitly discussed lying to her husband's employer, who acknowledged he didn't have mental health issues, who planned to fabricate a medical condition to force accommodations he didn't need. They showed her saying, "Nobody can prove you don't have anxiety, and what's the worst that could happen, and just go with it." Her attorney tried to argue the recordings were obtained in bad faith. The judge wasn't buying it. These recordings were made in a one-party consent state by a party to the conversation. They're admissible, and frankly, counselor, they paint a very different picture than your client's testimony. My wife's claim of emotional abuse was dismissed. Her request for additional spousal support beyond what we'd agreed upon was denied. The judge noted that her actions, contacting my employer with fabricated claims, demonstrated a pattern of deceptive behavior that undermined her credibility. Her mother was in the gallery. Her face was stone cold. She didn't make eye contact with me once. After the divorce was finalized, I went back to my empty apartment, sat on the couch, looked around at the half-empty rooms, the spaces where her things used to be. Did I feel vindicated? Kind of. Did I feel satisfied? Not really. Mostly, I felt tired. I'd spent 4 years with someone who, when push came to shove, thought lying about my mental health to my employer was a reasonable strategy, who thought fabricating a medical condition was helping, who genuinely couldn't understand why I had a problem with any of it. That's not a communication breakdown. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a fundamental incompatibility in how we understood reality. The last I heard from her was about 3 weeks after the divorce was finalized. A text from her sister's phone. "She's devastated. You destroyed her. I hope you can live with yourself." I didn't respond. Blocked the number. Then her mother tried calling. Left a voicemail about how I'd humiliated her daughter and ruined her reputation, and how I'd regret this. Blocked her too. The narrative they've constructed is fascinating, honestly. In their version, I'm the villain who recorded his wife, exposed her to legal trouble, and threw away his marriage over a misunderstanding. In reality, she fabricated a mental illness, reported it to my employer, nearly damaged my career, and then blamed me when there were consequences. Same facts, completely different stories. At work, things normalized faster than I expected. HR was professional about the whole thing. My colleagues never found out the details, just that there had been a personal situation that was now resolved. My projects continued. My reviews remained strong. The only lasting change was internal. I'm more careful now, more guarded. I save emails that might matter. I document important conversations. I verify things I used to take on faith. Is that paranoid? Maybe. But I spent 4 years with someone who thought lying about my mental health was a reasonable relationship strategy. Some paranoia he feels earned. The recordings that saved my career were made because I was starting to doubt my own perception. I thought I was the problem. I thought I was working too much, being unreasonable, failing as a husband. Turns out, I was just living with someone who had a very different relationship with the truth. Those recordings weren't about catching her in anything. They were about understanding myself. The fact that they ended up protecting my job was just lucky, I guess. Or maybe not lucky. Maybe it was just the natural consequence of documenting reality when someone else is trying to distort it. For anyone in a similar situation, here's what I learned. One-party consent states are your friend. Know your local laws. Document everything, not to catch anyone, but to verify your own perception. HR is not your enemy, but they're not your friend either. They're the company's friend. Give them facts, not emotions. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. My wife told me exactly what she was going to do. I just didn't think she'd actually do it. I was just trying to help. Is not a defense for harmful actions. Intent doesn't erase impact. My ex-wife genuinely believed she was helping me. She thought fabricating a mental illness would get me accommodations I needed. She thought she was fixing our marriage. But she was wrong. And being wrong with good intentions doesn't make you less wrong. I'm doing okay now. The apartment's quieter, emptier, but it's mine. And nobody's lying to my employer about my mental health. So that's nice.